Welcome back to another video. If you're new, my name is Leah and I am all about spending less and creating more. And today I'm going to be creating some summer recipes that I think your family is going to enjoy. So here is Savvy Saute. This first meal uses pineapple and coconut milk, so we are starting off in the islands. But I am using a modified version of a recipe that I found to make Huli Huli Chicken, if you've ever heard of that. So I will leave the original recipe and my modified version down in the description box with the measurements for you. But I am starting out with the sauce using brown sugar. I'm using some pineapple juice, ketchup, and soy sauce. I'm also using some garlic chili sauce, which you could use sriracha in place of. The original recipe, I believe it called for chili paste. And then I'm also using rice vinegar. They had originally called for Mirin, which I believe is like a sweetened rice vinegar, but this one worked just as well. In my opinion, it tasted great. And then I'm using some garlic, and I didn't have fresh ginger, so I just used some ground powdered ginger from my spice cabinet. And all of the flavors worked really well. I think it was delicious, and it's actually much easier than I had anticipated. Now you can use any kind of chicken that you want for this, whether it's boneless, skinless chicken breast. I am using the skin-on, bone-in chicken thighs that I purchased on sale. You could do this with drumsticks, and you can also do this in the grill if you want, but I'm doing this in my oven. I'm lining my casserole dish with some parchment paper just to keep it from getting super sticky on there, and then I'm covering that with some of the sauce, baking at 425, and then I'm gonna get working on my coconut rice. And y'all, you have to try this. You're just going to mix water with a can of coconut milk, get that all combined really well with some salt and sugar. Again, I will have the recipe fully in the description box for you, but this is the liquid that you're going to cook the raw rice in. And I like to use basmati. It just has a longer grain to it, but you can use any kind of rice that you want. Get that all fully combined, stir it in really well. Put that onto your stovetop on a high burner until it comes to a boil. As soon as that happens, turn it down on low, cover it, and let it simmer for 20 minutes. Now, in the meantime, we're going to be flipping our chicken every 10 minutes and re-brushing on or spooning on that sauce just a little bit to help give it more of a glaze. Now, the nice thing about working with a dark meat, especially if it's on the bone, is it's very hard to overcook it. It's full of flavor. But if you're using a boneless chicken, just make sure that you're keeping an eye on it. You don't want to let it overcook too much. So you can use a meat thermometer, and then I also recommend for the last 10 minutes putting it under the broiler or turning up your oven to like 450 just to get it a nice char on there. I also did some grilled pineapples, served it with the rice and a vegetable. It was so delicious. For this next meal, I'm going to use some boneless, skinless chicken breast, mango, and this is just from the freezer section, some cilantro, and garlic chili sauce. Now you can use fish if you want to. This is really great with salmon, tilapia, but boneless, skinless chicken breast would definitely be my favorite way to use this sauce. Forgot I'm also using soy sauce. So first I'm going to go ahead and cut off the pieces of fat and then chop these into smaller pieces of chicken. I promise you don't have to be a perfectionist about chopping up your veggies and your chicken and anything like that. I do like to have the meat sliced thin before I put it into smaller pieces. It just helps it cook even faster. So that's completely up to you. If you want to serve this as a whole piece of chicken breast with the sauce, that works as well, but it will take longer, and I would recommend using a meat thermometer to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. Starting with a 1/4 cup of water. We have about 1.5 cups of mango. This is 2 cups of cilantro. I'm adding 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and 2 tablespoons of my garlic chili. Now you do not have to cook this sauce. You can use it on anything that you want. Save your leftovers. And I'm going to bake this in my casserole dish in the oven, so that way I don't have to worry about it. I can just go get some other work done. But you could also do this on your stovetop, and it really resembles a curry, especially when you're serving it with that leftover coconut rice. And if you didn't make the other meal, I definitely recommend making that coconut rice for this dish. No matter what other meals you make from this recipe, you've got to make that rice. It's so good. So now I'm just going to serve this with my leftover coconut rice, asparagus, and then some mango that I had thawed out. It is so good. This next meal is inspired by Tropical Smoothies jerk chicken quesadilla, but they add more ingredients and I just wanted to keep it simple today. First, I am starting with 2 chicken breasts that I have filleted, and then I'm going to chop up really small, like this, into really small pieces. Now while my oven is preheating, I'm gonna make my sauce. If you don't feel like making your own sauce, you can buy some at Walmart. They have seasoning mixes, and I also like the Buffalo Wild Wings one, but it is much spicier. We're gonna start with our brown sugar, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/2 a cup of warm water. We're going to do 1/3 cup of tomato paste or ketchup, which of course ketchup is sweeter than tomato paste. 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of hot sauce, and 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. Just going to whisk this all together. I'm gonna add 1 more 1/2 teaspoon of the allspice. I'm going to pour some of our sauce over the chicken, and I'm gonna reserve some of it. It made a lot, so I don't need it all just for 2 chicken breasts. And because this is chopped up so small, it's gonna help make the cooking process go much faster. You could do this in a skillet on your stovetop if you want, but I just wanna set it and forget it until it's fully cooked. Probably takes about 20 minutes. And then because it's small pieces, it's also going to be good in a quesadilla. They're nice bite-sized pieces. So in our 400-degree oven, put our chicken in there. And we're gonna go for about 20 minutes and check on it. So it has been 20 minutes and our chicken looks fully cooked. So we're gonna go ahead and test that. I'm just making a slurry to go on our sauce to make it nice and thick. So I've got all of my chicken here. Let's pour that in and let this cook for a couple of minutes. Adding a little bit of salt too. It's just missing a little something. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and just layer my quesadillas. Got some of that nice sauce, and since we thickened it up, it's not going to leak out super juicy. And then we also have some sauce that we can put on the side to dip if you want. So now I'm just going to grill it. I've got a little bit of butter in there on a low medium heat. Then you can serve it with some apples or chips, a salad, a smoothie, whatever sounds good to you. Dakota lost all his fillings. What do you think?
I like it.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah.
All right, for this next meal, I'm just going to prep some lunch for myself for the next couple of days. I'm using some frozen filet of salmon. I'm using some edamame or mukamame, just some shelled edamame. You can use any kind of vegetable you want. And then for my grain, instead of using rice, I love using quinoa. So again, you can use rice, you can use instant rice, packets of grains, whatever you want. But this is how I like to make my favorite sauce for salmon. Now, I am lining a casserole dish with some parchment paper. You can use foil. You can do this in a cast iron skillet, glass, baking dish, baking pan, anything that you have. So that's just the start. We're going to preheat the oven at 400 degrees and then get our sauce on. We're just letting our oven preheat to 400 degrees, and I'm gonna get started with the quinoa. I am using 1 cup of water and 1/2 cup of raw quinoa. So just double the water that you do the grain. Anytime you make rice, like you can use 2 cups of dried rice and it turns into 6 cups of cooked rice. So same thing with quinoa. You just don't need to make a whole lot of it at once unless you're trying to feed, your whole family for meal prep. But this is just for me. I'm doing 2 pieces of salmon and then I'm doing 1 cup of quinoa. So go ahead and get that onto a high burner. Once that comes to a boil, we're going to cover it and let it simmer on low. I'm just going to microwave steam my vegetables. You could do this with broccoli, any kind of vegetable that you want. So this is just gonna go in the microwave unopened for 6 minutes. Now our oven is preheated, so I'm gonna get my salmon in there and then start making the sauce that we're gonna use later on. These are the 3 ingredients I'm using for my sauce. Now you can use sriracha or the garlic chili sauce. Either one is gonna give you basically the same flavor. This just has more of the pieces of pepper flakes and it doesn't have any added sugar. Then we're gonna do the soy sauce and some honey. You could also use brown sugar if you don't have honey, but I like the flavor that honey gives it. Now if you don't like it as spicy, just use less of the chili sauce or sriracha. But that is gonna make a really nice sauce. Now you can also add some ginger to it. Now instead of giving you exact measurements, I'm just gonna tell you the ratio. I'm gonna do 1 spoon of my chili sauce. I'm gonna do 1 spoon of honey. And I'm gonna do 2 spoons of soy sauce. This is boiling now, so we're gonna turn this down to a low heat and cover it. We're gonna let that go for about 20 minutes. I love making this meal whenever I just don't know what to cook for the week. I can do this with chicken. I can do it with any kind of fish. Salmon, I think you all know by now, is one of my all-time favorite proteins, but it's such an easy sauce to put on anything. It's good if you're making hibachi, like a stir fry. You can use it on beef. You can do it in a ground beef, a ground turkey, mix it with rice. This sauce is so adaptable to anything that you cook if you want that good spicy Asian flavor. So definitely recommend saving the sauce and using it on whatever meat you have on hand. Now for that fish, we're just gonna wait on it to be about halfway cooked, and then we're going to put our sauce on it. So right now it's still pretty frozen. All right, so this actually took 16 minutes once it came to a boil, so just watch it. I mean, I did a smaller batch than I normally do, so once it's no longer full of water and it's nice and fluffy, then you know it's done. Okay, and now we're going to add our sauce. This is very much like the chicken thighs that we did for the other recipe. But there's no pineapple and a couple other seasonings. But very good, very easy to throw together. I'm gonna add some sesame seeds as well. And we'll put that back in for probably another 10 minutes. I'm gonna season with some salt. So now I have 1 lunch for today and another one for tomorrow. I hope some of these recipes inspire your next meal plan, and of course, until the next video, I will see you in the comments.